All right, welcome in to what is now being called the Heater Fantasy Forecast. And you may ask, where is the other one? Where's the less attractive version of yourself, Eric? Mark is going to unfortunately be taking a step back from this for a little while. He is a busy, busy man. And frankly, this was always my baby. This was not his baby. So he's very agreeable. So he was more than willing to help, but I kind of gave him the pass and said, you know what, bud, it's okay. Take a step back, take care of that family of yours. He's single. He's a bachelor. He just got out of college. He doesn't know how to run his life yet. I pandered to him, but in all honesty, whatever. We'll make do. If you are an audience member who only wanted to see Mark, I'm sorry. It's going to be few and far between. However, he will be still showing up if you're in our fantasy league for some very specific league-only videos and information in that sense. So do not lose hope in that regards. But the show must go on. So in lieu of all that, we're going to expand a little bit. We're not just Heater Dynasty Podcast anymore. We're called Heater Fantasy Forecast. We're going to be tackling Dynasty. We're going to be tackling redraft leagues. We're going to be tackling DFS, which, spoiler alert, is the whole point of today's show, as well as Dynasty advice, commissioning advice, all that kind of stuff. Waiver wire, all your good information. Don't worry. We are still a one-stop shop. We have now just opened our doors to some more possibilities and more venues. But today, we are focusing in on the Turkey Bowl. All right? So Turkey Bowl, it was supposed to be a 3-game slate. I was prepping for it. I was thinking, how can I give you guys the best cash lineups and the best GPP or grand prize pool, if you're new to this, lineups for your DFS setup. Well, as I was prepping for it, I had it all lined up. I was like, oh, Baltimore-Pittsburgh game, this is going to be great. There's a lot of good, juicy matchups in there. Wrote out the whole slate, and then I looked at my phone, and there's a notification. They moved the game. The game has been moved to Sunday night because of this pandemic or something. They're calling for it. It's COVID-19. Have you guys heard of it? It was news to me, but yeah, so that's going to change it. It was a 3-game slate. It's now a 2-game slate, which makes this even more important, why you need some fantasy advice. I am going to give you 2 lineups today that you can use if you want. In the future, I probably won't give you my exact lineup because that just seems, counterintuitive, but we're just starting this out, and I want to show you guys that what I do works. So, we're going to do them both side by side, kind of go through them together. But first, I want to break down each of the games and talk through which players we should be looking at. So the first game of the week is on Thursday, Thanksgiving, 12:30 p.m. It's the Lions versus the Texans. And if you were the Lions, you're pretty mad right now at the Ravens and trying to figure out how they pulled this off, that they could get their game moved for injuries just because they're quote-unquote COVID illnesses, because the Lions are decimated right now. Their starting quarterback, Matt Stafford, is throwing without one of the ligaments in his main thumb. I don't know how, but he has been doing it for a week or so now. And, so that's one thing. You have DeAndre Swift, the starting running back. He got a concussion recently, and he may or may not be playing. Kenny Golladay is more likely than not playing. So, yeah, it's going to be real interesting. So, if you're looking at the game script for this game, I think the Texans have it. I think the Texans win it. I think there is no way that the Lions are going to be able to stop an O'Brien-less Watson express train, okay? Ever since they got rid of their head coach, the Texans, Deshaun Watson has been on fire. Now, so Deshaun Watson, in your cash lineup, he is a lock. You put him as your starting quarterback and you don't look anywhere else. You're also going to want to stack him with either Will Fuller or Brandon Cooks, or both if you want. Today, I'm going to be putting Will Fuller in the lineup with Deshaun Watson. And then in order to make this really work, you're going to want to bring it back. So we're going to take a risk. We're going to assume that DeAndre Swift, fingers crossed, makes the lineup. Don't worry, we're going to have a contingency plan in place just in case you need to make a last-minute switch. But right now, we're going to do Deshaun Watson, Will Fuller, and then DeAndre Swift in your running back slot, and then finally Marvin Jones in your wide receiver spot. Because it's Thanksgiving, and Marvin Jones was created to play football on Thanksgiving. I would say 90% of his stats in his entire career have taken place on a Thanksgiving game. All right, so this is the week where you get the multiple touchdowns from Marvin Jones. And on top of that, there's no Kenny Golladay. So where else is the ball going to go? And then lastly, if you really want to take a risk, this is probably more of a good GPP or a grand prize pool option. If more like in tournament modes, but Kiki QT is someone that you should have on your radar. He is the new slot receiver for Randall Cobb now that Cobb is not playing, and he is risky, but he will not be highly started. And so I have slipped him in to my cash lineup this week, not very happily. Hesitantly, I put him in there because there's just not too many options now that the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game is no longer happening. You really have 4 teams to choose from. So I think that this Lions-Texans game is going to be the game that has more points scored than the Washington-Dallas game, just because I think the offenses are more prone to working this way. I also think that the Texans are the highest projected points total on the slate. If you look at the Vegas numbers, they are expected to score the most of all 4 teams. So we're really loading up on the Texans, but we still have those 2 Lions there to bring it back with. So moving forward on to the Washington football team and the Dallas game. Now this might be the less scoring game of the slate, but I honestly think this is going to be the game to watch, okay? Because one thing, biased, I am a Washington fan. But I also know that anytime you have these 2 teams playing against each other, it's a death match. It's smash mouth football. They're looking to get it at each other. And on top of that, believe it or not, but these 2 3-win teams are fighting for a division playoff spot. This is the NFC East this year. It's 2020. What else are we going to do but put all of our attention on this game? So this has now become the primetime game because there is no 8 o'clock game anymore. This is now at 4:30. And if you're looking at the game script, this is how it's going to go. Washington is going to jump to an early lead. They are then going to try to run the ball down Dallas's throat. And then they're going to shoot big plays over the top with Terry McLaurin. He's going to get 2 touchdowns this week in the air. Antonio Gibson is going to get the ball 20-plus times and get another 100-yard rushing game on the ground, as well as get you into the end zone for the 5th straight week. That is my prediction. So, Scary Terry, as he was formerly known, has been renamed. He does not like Scary Terry. We've come up with a new nickname for him. I heard it first from JP Finley, and I like it. I think it's going to stick. So I'm trying to improve upon this myself and get more airspace out there for this name. It's the Captain, all right? He was just named captain as a second-year team player unanimously by his team. He is an all-around good dude. He is light years ahead of where he should be. If you do not know who Terry McLaurin is yet, then stop watching football. You're an idiot, okay? He is the future of this franchise, and he's going to break every single one of our records. So, don't mess this up. Dan Snyder. Get this guy on a long-term contract. Don't play stupid money ball with him. This is our future. This guy should be retired as a Washington football team player. Now, he is the most expensive option on this slate for wide receiver. He's at $7K. But don't be stupid. Put him in your lineup. He is going to ball out. He is going to reach that threshold for you. So in DFS, the rule of thumb is you want him to score 3 times the amount of what his budget is. So if he's at $7K, we want him to score 21 points. There is no way there's no way that he's not going to have a good game. 21 points? Maybe not. But I don't see him scoring less than double digits. I don't see him scoring less than 15, 16 points against that Dallas secondary. This, in my opinion, is a lock, a cash lock. And I'm also going to be playing him in our GPP lineup, which we'll talk about in a second. Ezekiel Elliott is the highest priced running back on the slate. And I think he's going to be popular because there's not too many options. People are going to play him. He's a big name. He did well last week. He had a bounce back week. I am not going to be playing him because, for one, everyone else is going to. And that you need some sort of separation in order to win these leagues. And on top of that, when they played Washington in week 7, he only scored 6.1 points. So the only way that Ezekiel Elliott is going to make it into my lineup is if DeAndre Swift does not start. DeAndre Swift does not start, then we have it built in, a contingency plan that Ezekiel Elliott will slide into that spot. Otherwise, he's not making my roster. Now, Antonio Gobble Gibson, all right, for this Thanksgiving Day, is going to make both rosters, absolutely, no questions asked, because I'm making this decision completely based on NBA Jam rules, all right? He is on fire. It's been 4 weeks in a row with a touchdown. This is going to be week 5. Also, week 7 when he played Dallas, he scored 21.8 points. All right? He is going to eat Dallas alive. The gameplay is calling for it. The game script, he's going to be running the ball 20-plus times. He's going to be playing with a lead, and they're just going to want to beat up that defensive line. Now, unfortunately, if we're going to play this many Washington players, we're going to have to put some sort of Dallas player in the lineup. So I've put Dalton Schultz in because the tight end options are very limited this week. So he's going to start. He's a cheap option. And while he only scored 4.2 points against Washington in week 7, the Washington team is not very good against the tight end, and they will figure this out. Dallas, that is, and they're going to get him involved. Also, remember, Andy Dalton got knocked out last game against the Washington team pretty early on, and they brought in some backup quarterbacks, and it was ugly. It got ugly real fast. So I really think Dalton's going to figure it out. The Dalton-to-Dalton connection is going to be there. Andy Dalton to Dalton Schultz, and he's going to get one of their touchdowns. Lastly, play Washington's defense because they are looking to build momentum from last week's win against the Bengals. Andy Dalton is going to have traumatic flashbacks from week 7 when he got knocked out. His head is going to be on a swivel and his ass is going to be on the grass. So that is the overview of all the games. Let me run through my actual lineups for you here just one more time so you have a sense. If you're going cash lineup, I'm going to be playing Deshaun Watson at $74K as my quarterback. I'm going to have Antonio Gobble Gibson in the running back slot. The second running back slot is going to be DeAndre Swift at 6.5K. If he cannot go, it's going to be Zeke Elliott at 6.8. We've saved that extra $300 just to be able to slide him in if we need to, but I really hope we don't because I don't want Zeke in my life. Wide receivers, I got Will Fuller, Marvin Jones, and the captain, Terry McLaurin. Our tight end is Dalton Schultz. Hold your nose, put him in your lineup. It'll pay off. He only needs to score 10 points to meet his actual potential of his 3.8, his budget. But even if he only gets you like 6, 7, 8 points, you'll probably be okay. Lastly, put Washington football team as your defense because they are going to ball out against Dallas. They want this more than Dallas does, and they already know that Andy Dalton is scared. Now, in GPP this week, it's going to look a little bit different because there aren't as many options. So think of it more as like an alternate cash lineup because there's nothing super crazy in here. But I did take Deshaun Watson out. I put in Alex Smith. Okay, so this is a little bit more risky, but I'm hoping for one of those 300-yard, 2-touchdown Alex Smith games of these last couple of weeks, as opposed to last week where he's 160 yards in the air and then pass it off. So that's the only thought there. Alex Smith, risky, but not many people are going to play him for that exact reason. So that'll give you a contrarian play. Stick with Antonio Gibson and DeAndre Swift as your running backs. The only exception is, in this lineup, we didn't have as much wiggle room. So if DeAndre Swift cannot play, you go back to Deshaun Watson as your quarterback, and you slide Kerryon Johnson in DeAndre Swift's place. Okay? You'll have the cash to do it, and that's what's going to happen. Wide receiver, we're going with Amari Cooper because alternative game plan, if Alex Smith is throwing the ball a lot, that means that Andy Dalton is throwing the ball a lot and scoring a lot of points. So Amari Cooper is going to be involved. You still got Terry McLaurin in the lineup. This time we're going with Brandon Cooks because he's not going to be played as heavily as Will Fuller. So it's a little bit a way to separate from the competition. But I still think he's going to be heavily involved in that first game. Your tight end, you have a little bit more spending room this time with Alex Smith as your quarterback. So you're going to go with TJ Hawkinson because the Lions going to need to throw the ball to somebody. So it's going to be Marvin Jones and TJ Hawkinson. That's it. So then also your flex, Marvin Jones. Lastly, why ruin a good thing? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Put Washington football team as your defense and call it a day. So hopefully this works out in your favor. I sure hope it's working out in my favor. Go make some money, go enjoy some football, some food, and don't go hang out with friends, okay? COVID's a real thing. If it wasn't, we get 3 games. We're only getting 2. So be safe, everybody, and I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.